Oh yeah. What's up, guys? Woo! We've made it to Thursday. This is some TBT the main right now. I'm loving it. Thanks for joining me today. How are you guys doing? If you guys have been following my air fryer journey, I got one. I made the purchase. Oh, this is it. This is the chorus. Yeah, growing up, it won't bring us down. Takes me back. Growing up won't bring us down. Oh man, really takes me back. Anyway, yes, I got the air fryer and made some Brussels sprouts, and wow. I mean, I don't know if it was all the hype or just my positivity going into it about how good it was going to be, but I really feel like it delivered. Brussels were crispy. They were flavorful, and it only took like 10 minutes. So I do feel like it might be better than the oven, than just roasting in the oven. But I can't say for sure. A lot of people have been DMing me like, is it worth it? Is it worth the purchase? I don't feel qualified enough to say currently, because I've only done one use, but it was good. And also we made pasta, and I used some of my fresh herbs that are still alive. Okay, so it's been about 4 or 5 days. They're still alive and honestly thriving. And I don't know. Maybe it's just I bought the herbs because I'm trying to learn how to cook with them, because I can't tell if they made a difference or not. I don't know if anyone relates, but anyway, all is good over here. We're cooking, we're experimenting, and so far so good. So I'll keep you posted on the air fryer journeys. I think we might try to make chicken nuggets today, which that will be the true test. All right. My guest today is John O'Callaghan, the lead singer of The Maine, and let's just go ahead and bring him in. So, hello.
Hello.
2 thumbs up. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if you caught any of that air fryer
The
talk.
air fryer. Air fryer chronicles.
Do you have an opinion?
I don't have one, although I like fried foods.
Well, apparently the thing with the air fryer is it's supposed to make things like crispy and good, but like still somewhat healthy.
Healthy for you?
Yeah.
Or healthy-ish, yeah.
Healthier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to do all I can. Do you eat healthy?
I try to. My fiance is on day 2 or 3 of some sort of cleanse.
Wow.
And she's I think restricted to like some sort of soup that she made with like cabbage and celery. And...
Are you doing that with her? Like
no.
charity?
No. I've been having to like sort of hide what I've been eating. Like I had like breakfast burrito a little bit ago, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Nothing."
Nothing
So,
going on in here that's good and
we were watching The Sopranos last night, because that's what we're doing now, is watching The Sopranos.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I went to the kitchen, and there was a bag of cookies there, and I had to eat them in the kitchen while she was in the bedroom. It's like, I don't think she had a clue, so that's a good thing.
Well, that's nice of you to sort of shield the treats.
Yeah, I guess the nicer move would be to like join her in the cleanse, but
right, sure, but that's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So I just saw a comment go by that was like, I can't believe this crossover. So, I mean, I understand why people might be like, why are these two talking?
Yeah.
seemingly from different worlds. And we are, but maybe something people don't know is you grew up in Phoenix with my husband, David Blaze, who
Yes.
was in a band called This Providence, which he said the Maine's first show was opening up for This Providence in Phoenix. Is that confirmed or denied?
That's very true. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was at, if I'm not mistaken, it was at the Real Bar, which is no longer around.
Yeah, he couldn't remember the venue, but
I want to say we played like maybe 4 songs or something like that. And I think I was turned around the whole time facing the drummer. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. But
really
I remember
owning the stage.
I remember going, before I was in the band, I remember going and watching David and This Providence do a rehearsal, I think, at maybe at the Hot Church in Arizona or something like that. And I just remember being like, this is like legit, like this is a real band, and like what's so crazy? It was like, it was awesome.
David just commented they passed us by like 2 weeks later.
Oh, whatever. We actually, our manager got married recently, Tim, and Tim toured with This Providence, and
Yes.
at his wife, at their wedding, they played a couple of This Providence songs, and I was like,
Really?
oh, whoa, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I opened up for the Rocket Summer
Oh,
back
wow.
in October, like recently. And we played a show up in Seattle, and I brought Dan on stage and we sang Beautiful Rescue together.
Oh, nice.
A nice little moment for all the
That's crazy.
stands in the house. But yeah, like David, I met David obviously a few years later, and when he moved to LA and we started dating, and he took me to you guys' release show at a venue out here in LA that is also no longer called the Knitting Factory.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was for your album Black and White, and I really wore that album out after that show. I was obsessed.
That's awesome.
As you can see, listening to growing up.
That's amazing. Yeah, that record specifically was strange because about half the album was written with other people.
Oh, really?
So that was the first time I'd experienced co-writing, and I remember that show specifically was like, we were just signed to Warner Brothers, and it was like the release of the album, and like they're telling you that the world is yours, and like it was just like from here to like, all right, here we go. Back to reality.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that. Well, there was a time where you guys were really on top of the world, and that matters.
No, the direction was up, and then reality set in.
So you guys, the Maine formed in 2007, right?
Correct.
And when you were you going into it like, oh my God, yes, I've always wanted to be in a band. I love to sing. This is my destiny. Or was it kind of more like, oh yeah, I'll try this, see what happens? Because I mean, the way David talks about, growing up in Phoenix, it was like all of his friends were in bands. It was like the thing you did. And I grew up in Georgia. Like no one was like that where I was from.
Yeah.
I feel like Phoenix is like so, or maybe just like you guys era. I feel like you guys were just all in bands, and you all went on to do really well, which I feel like is also rare. But
yeah, I mean, the scene was interesting. I had never. The Maine is the first band I'd ever been in, but I had been such a diehard fan of just music in general. But then after like going to my first real concert, which was Millencolin and Homegrown at the Nile Theater in Mesa, Arizona. I remember the feeling of going to a concert and like almost feeling like some level of invincible, like you were away from your parents, like there was like a room full of strangers where you could sort of be whoever you wanted to be around. I remember sort of really like feeling like that was something that I wanted to continue feeling. But it wasn't until, and all my friends, like you're saying, like the scene, quote unquote, was like pretty, it was like teeming with just a lot of different bands, a lot of different energy, a lot of different, like there was a show every weekend. So I was always around it, but I was never like, I could do that. And it wasn't until towards the end of high school where I started to write music, at least like for fun. And then I was going to college, and the long short of it was like I had no direction really in school. So I wasn't, I was just taking like the prereq classes, like just for generic credits. And Tim, our manager, his younger brother is our drummer, but at the time he just was in a band that needed a singer. So after a party, I like had told Tim like, yo, I want to try out for your brother's band. And he just sort of wrote it off as like, all right, you know, we're at a party, and that's just like something you're saying right now.
Right.
So the next morning I woke up and I was like, I called Pat and I auditioned, which was like me in a room at his parents' house, like pretending to know how to play guitar and like faking the whole thing all the way through. So
you said you felt like you tanked it.
Oh, I mean, it was, I did, like, I still don't feel comfortable playing guitar, but like now I feel a million times more than I did at the time. But there's just a level of like, oh, I know what I'm doing, but I'm sure they could read it on my face. Like, I have no clue what I'm doing here. And
well,
like hungover and like, this is going to work.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna make this work.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it obviously did turn out pretty well. I mean, you guys have been putting out music since then pretty consistently. Right?
Yeah. We haven't really given us much time to rest. So
yeah. I just think it's so cool that, like, you know, because I've been putting out music for a long time as well. Like a few years after you guys, I put out one of my first EPs that, you know, I had a hand in writing, and was also produced by a guy named Matt Grabe that produced some of you guys' early stuff. So shout out to Matt.
Shout out to Matt Grabe, yeah.
He's probably not watching, I can almost guarantee that. But maybe he'll feel it. But like, you guys kind of come up through a time in the music industry, and I always am like, oh, has it really changed that much? Like, I think it's just always been changing, and you kind of always have to adapt. But it's definitely, I feel like, been a big shift from, like, you know, when we were putting out some of our first albums and EPs, there wasn't Spotify, there wasn't streaming, there wasn't like YouTube, it wasn't this whole like thing where you have to really be visible on like all platforms and whatever.
Sure.
But you guys, you know, obviously you had fans that were just hooked and really have stayed with you guys since the beginning, and it's only been growing, it feels like. And I don't know, I think that's so cool. I feel like you would probably credit your fans for like the reason you guys are still a band. I mean, what did you say?
Absolutely. I mean, at some point, when we started to really lean into the idea of like putting the people that support what we do first, which we've always been, but like we really sort of like started driving home that and emphasizing that because of the way we felt like when we talked prior to this, I was telling you just about like the variables of, you know, other people being in charge of your music or the distribution of your music or whatever it is. Once we realized that was like going to impede on the process, and other people didn't really necessarily have the same vision as us or just didn't care and feel as emotionally attached to everything as we did, that's sort of like the we did a thing on Warped Tour a couple years ago where we made our merch tent, and we would throw just our meet and greets under the tent, and on the wall it was like, why would you pay money to meet a person? Because so many other people on Warped Tour were like charging. And I understand that that's a thing, but
Right.
it went beyond that for us, because it's one thing to charge somebody, but to when we were in Brazil, and I'm going to throw shade on somebody because they're too famous, but
this
Avril
is
Lavigne,
the outlet, okay? We want the juiciest.
at the time we were in Brazil, and Avril Lavigne was charging something like $600, and they were posting photos of her meet and greet, but there was like a big space in between her and the person that was paying all this money. Right. And she like put her arm out, and now like in the social distancing world that would make sense for the 6 feet, but at the time,
ahead of her time.
At the time it was just like, this is absurd. So
yeah,
I don't know. We've always felt like it just makes the most sense. Without people to support what you do, you don't get to do what you do for a living. You know, you can do it as a hobby, but if you're actually trying to make a living off of it, you have to, I don't know, first and foremost, it just feels like treating people the right way is the most important thing. So
yeah. I mean, well, I think you guys have done a really good job of that. And also, I mean, credit to your fans who are all here in the comments.
Shout out.
Shout out. You know, they really stand by you guys. And I don't know, it's just really cool to see. Because like you said, it's like on the business side of this industry, there's labels, there's, you know, higher ups that are like, I can come in and really help take this. But I think it's like all a little bit of smoke and mirrors when you really realize, you know, like, actually this is all just about the music we make and the connection we have with our fans, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's not to say that like there aren't brilliant people in the music industry that like can really help and can really facilitate your vision. I think what's most important is that as a band or as an artist, like you figure out what it is you're trying to say and what how you want to present things. And if you get that sort of down, or at least like to a place where you feel most comfortable, then that's when you can really work in tandem with other people that have been a part of the music industry or just have brilliant ideas, you know.
No, that's true. That's true. So how is your, you know, you guys have been a band for a long time. How has your creative process sort of evolved over the years, or does it feel, you know, pretty much the same as when you guys were all kind of starting out? Or has it evolved quite a bit, or?
What's funny is when I was setting up this room,
which by the way, I really appreciate our matching sets. Just
exactly.
A white wall. It's nice.
Exactly. When I was setting up this like little makeshift studio, I was going through a bunch of old hard drives that I had, and on them were like old demos. And when I first got my Mac desktop for college, it had GarageBand on it, and that was kind of initially where I wrote songs. I just demoed out like really bad sounding demos with like they had like an auto-tune feature on GarageBand. It was like so caveman, and I would just blast that all the way up. So it like kind of sounded like T-Pain. And I went through those demos, and it's just funny to then think like that's where they started, and then they sort of regressed and went to the voice memo function on the phone. And I would like sit either at a piano or my guitar and just be more sort of stream of consciousness and just try to come up with melodic ideas, or if I was saying gibberish, find a word in there that made sense and then go from there. So our process from then till now, I would take those voice memos, we'd bring them to the band, we'd stand up in a room and we'd play. And since that, we've sort of gone back to being in the box, which is just on the computer. And I'm getting better at Pro Tools. I'm not like a wizard, but I'm like feeling more comfortable with the process. And I feel like I can make things sound like more palatable and make it easier to understand like what I'm going for at that time, as opposed to like, oh, if you can imagine from this rudimentary voice memo, like,
Right.
if you could only imagine, like, there's some strings and there's some other thing, you know. So we're definitely, it's definitely a work in progress. But I think the most important thing is that it's with the evolution, it's been fun every time. You know, it's like been a learning experience, but also like really interesting to me. So I don't know how your experience has been from like start till now, but
I mean, yeah, it feels like I've always been more like, I mean, I started writing songs a little bit later, I feel like, than a lot of my, you know, other artists that I'm friends with or talk to. Like a lot of people, like, I've been writing songs since I was 5.
yeah, I know.
Maybe you haven't, like, that's amazing. I didn't really, you know, I grew up loving pop music. Like that's what I liked when I was in high school, and that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that's what I saw. So there wasn't a lot of female pop that I was seeing that were a lot about like their songwriting and their artistry and like this is what I want to be about and what I want to say. It was more you know, just like the era of Britney and boy bands and like Christina Aguilera. And I was like, I'm a performer. I love to sing and dance. Like,
Totally.
that's just what I want to do. And so when, you know, I started trying to do that, I think I realized pretty quickly that that wasn't necessarily the most authentic thing to me. And so when people were like, oh, you should write about what you're experiencing and like put it in a song, you know, it seems very elementary now, but I was like, oh, okay. And then once I started doing that, since I came into it with like feeling like that wasn't necessarily my strong suit, I've always felt like I couldn't trust my instincts, even though over and over again people would be like, I like that. That's a good lyric or that's a good melody. And it just took me forever, I feel like, to go into a session and bring in an idea, whether or not it was just like a little lyric I wrote or something I didn't know that I would walk around and sort of hum some kind of melody and that would be something that I could turn into a song. Like, totally. I just thought that was like, oh, and I'm not saying I'm walking around all the time with these like genius melodies flowing.
Yeah.
But it has like over the years, I think I've started paying way more attention to those moments like, oh, I just thought of this thing. Like, why don't I just get it down in case it, and sometimes those do turn into songs or turn into lyrics or I don't know. I mean, it's very, I've tried to just be way more like this, writing songs, being an artist, the way that you stand out and make your music like connect with fans and people who listen is to be as honest as possible and as like authentic as possible. And if you're going through something, probably a lot of other people are going through it as well. And like to trust that that my instincts are right.
Absolutely.
And like I don't know if that ties into a bunch of other like you know, being a woman in the industry stuff or just being a woman in general and just kind of having to fight for that confidence with stuff. But I don't know. I think it's been interesting because it feels like as I've gotten more confident in that, you know, I can go more confidently into writing sessions. And I'm just starting to pick up like playing instruments and like trusting that even if I do like most songs are 3 chords, I don't know. I think it's always been like this thing I was a little intimidated by and didn't necessarily feel like I had the chops. And I don't know, that's something I'm always fighting, even though I've written a bunch of songs that I like and that people are like, I like this song.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you deal with, but.
No, it's certainly relatable. It's that, and I still deal with it all the time too, is the intuitive feeling, like being able to trust that and feel like comfortable. I mean, the idea of writing songs and sharing them with people is a very vulnerable thing in itself. And I feel like I'm the same way. Like when we first started writing songs, I was writing from sort of like the fly on the wall perspective. So I was writing about what I was witnessing and experiencing, but not really putting too much of myself into it.
Yeah.
And almost sort of like storytelling and like making it up and saying like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people probably think like, oh, you know, some of our earlier stuff, like and even my fiance was like, who the hell is this girl that you were writing? You know, like, I'm like, it was literally nobody. I made them up. But yeah, it's interesting. And that's interesting that you're saying about being a female in the industry. And I obviously I have no idea how that is, but I've written a lot of songs with, especially on that second record. It was really neat to sort of be in the room and feel just included in the conversation with these other songwriters who, you know, maybe you don't know them by their name, but you know their songs. And I wrote with one woman in particular, Shelley Piken, who had written Genie in a Bottle by Christina Aguilera, and she wrote like Bitch by Meredith Brooks. And like, it was really interesting to like see and to be able to talk to somebody of the opposite sex and to hear their perspective on a song and an idea, and like to get that was really eye-opening to me. But we still, I mean, I still struggle with the idea of am I like worthy enough of being in this, like, you know, in this scenario with this other songwriter, or are my ideas worth anything, you know, like, are they good? I don't know, like, I think it's good, but like mostly like what I think is good turns out to be like the least favorite of the people that digest it. So it's like, whatever.
Oh gosh, yeah, so true. I mean, I guess that's just the cross that we bear.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if that's the worst thing, we'll be all right.
Absolutely.
But I mean, because you know, it kind of reminds me, you guys' most recent album is called You Are Okay, which I feel like is dealing with a lot of kind of mental things and stuff we tell ourselves, and insecurities, and your own kind of, maybe, did you feel like that was kind of your most vulnerable songwriting yet for the main?
You know, I don't know if necessarily it was the most vulnerable, but I felt like it was the most on the nose that like I have been as far as like a topic is concerned. I feel like a lot of the other stuff that I've written lyrically or you know, title wise as far as albums go, I feel like I speak in somewhat more abstract ways than like our producer Colby. I'm gonna throw him under the bus kind of, but he, you know, when I was writing recently with him, he was like, yeah, I'm down to write, but can you just maybe be a little more direct with what you're trying to say and not be so abstract? And I never thought that I was, and maybe it is coming off as pretentious to some, but I just try, like some of my favorite lyricists, like the now I'm gonna forget his name, the dude from Counting Crows, Adam something.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I can't think of his name.
Dude, there's this band called North Star that was I was huge into back in the day, and I think his name is Tyler. I'm not sure, but I could just be making all this stuff up. But I guess with You Are Okay, I just tried to be more direct with everything. I tried to be more direct with the concept, and like I was telling you earlier, it was more so about me hoping to convince myself that, like, you know, when you feel that sort of like anxiety start to peak, that was my mantra at the time, and I still try to remind myself when I get to that point, like, you know, in perspective, like in the full scheme, like I'm okay. Like things will be fine. And like I was telling you, I don't know if we've had an album where people have related to the concept or the idea more than they have as You're Okay. I know, like, you know, I mean, we've been kind of weird. Like Pioneer was our third, and the cover is like a bearded man with lipstick on, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of things that can be inferred. There's a lot left. There's a lot open to interpretation. So with You're Okay, it was pretty direct. It was pretty on the nose. And I think people appreciated it. So
well, it's because it seems like, you know, you were kind of what you were sharing with me a little bit of how you were feeling behind this was like, you know, a little bit of the routine of like write an album and then tour it and then write an album and then tour it, and it's amazing. And I'm sure there was that fear there of like, I know you probably love that you get the opportunity to do all of these things, to get to play shows, to get to make music for a living.
Absolutely.
Like our dream. It's what we try to do. But it doesn't mean that it's always easy, or, you know, stuff doesn't change as you go through different parts of life and whatever. And I would imagine maybe there was some like hesitancy of like, I don't want it to seem like I'm complaining or not thankful for what I have. But it seems like by being honest and sort of confronting and being real about that, it allowed your fans to connect almost even more to what you were going through and not drive them away at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what is really interesting too is like, yeah, I don't know how close you are with your family, but you know, when I started writing songs, like as I started to sort of put more of myself into the music and into the songs, my mom started like really asking a lot of questions. I wrote a song called 24 Floors, and it's on an album called American Candy, and it's a really personal song. It's very like, people can perceive it as like very dark and very like, you know, a lot of like self-sabotaging sort of ideas and concepts. But I remember my mom sat me down and asked, you know, just how I was doing and like mentally, and it was really it was a really like beneficial time for me and her, because, you know, with that process of being on tour and being away all the time and then coming home and really only seeing your friends or whatever it is, you know, my mom and I haven't really had that ability to sort of communicate in the way that we had, you know, prior to being in the band when I was still living at home. So being more vulnerable and putting more of myself into the songs, it was not only cathartic and like therapeutic for me, but it was also sort of healing for my mom and I, and for, you know, just for the idea of like, I'm a human too. And I think she started to realize like, you know, oh, he might be going through some shit, and like, that's okay, you know. And you know, being able to like tell her that I'm good and I don't need to talk about it, and like a lot of what I'm able to do with music helps me enough, you know. And I think that that's like really important for people to hear too, is that there is this this idea that like we as artists or as musicians are sort of impervious to pain and impervious to the idea of being sad or emotional, or like, you know, some think that like you just write a song because it sounds cool, and sometimes that's the case, but like, you know, more often than not, we're trying to say something. And you know, I think if we accidentally help people along the way, that's like when I think the magic really happens. So I feel kind of like a president. I just started doing that like thumb thing.
That is a very politician move.
Yeah. Believe what I'm telling you.
This
believe
is
me.
Important.
Believe.
No, I mean, I agree. I do think it's important and true, and has, you know, I was seeing comments as you were talking about how much that song means to people. So, you know, I think it's always worth it if you're able to share this dark parts of yourself through some of your songs and, you know, make people feel less crazy. I think that's like the point of it all.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'd love for you to play a song if you feel
it just so happens that I have a guitar here.
It's not like you were ready for this at all.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, before I play it, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on your Instagram Live.
Well, thanks for being here.
It's crazy, sort of like the parallels that we probably, you know, knowing David, and there's a lot more overlap than there isn't, you know.
I know,
so
there is.
It's very interesting.
It is very interesting.
But
yeah, I mean, also if you want, we can play a song, I can play a song, and then if people want to send in questions, there's like a question box. Maybe we have time to answer a couple.
Absolutely.
So get those questions in, y'all.
There you go. Well, I'll keep this one short then. I'll play it twice as fast.
No, we have time. We have time.
Okay. This song is, it's one I haven't played in a minute, but it's from that Pioneer record. And I actually, and not to bring the mood down, my grandmother passed away recently. And during this whole quarantine thing. So it was really interesting. The funeral service that we had was only 7 people in total, but it was, and this is going to sound dark, and this is maybe a really good lyric, but it was the best funeral that I've ever been to because it felt like actually final, and I could be comfortable with the people that I was there with, and it was on my dad's side. So anyways, this is my dad's favorite song, and this song is called Take Me Dancing.
Oh.
Well, the good man said, if you're feeling dead, you gotta try to find a way to be alive. This is not a game that you have to play. Don't need a reason to feel like you're alive. Give me thunder, give me lightning, and I will give you every part of me. Take me dancing, get me fucked up, play that old guitar and we will sing. Yeah, we'll sing. Well, my old man said, you must lie in your bed. The way you make it, no one can make it like you do. No, you're not alone. You still have home. No matter what you do, my son, I'm still proud of you. Give me thunder, give me lightning, and I will give you every part of me. Take me dancing, get me fucked up, play it on guitar and we will sing.
I love that. Wow.
Thank you.
That was so pretty.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Aww. That's nice.
Thank you.
It was a little sad, but it felt right. If you guys don't mind, I'll play one too.
Yes. You you've come equipped as well.
I've come equipped as well. I just so happen to. I like to make the joke that this is like a big production. That like, you know, that was from my production assistant right off.
Yeah.
Well,
Somebody with a makeup towel. Like.
Yeah, glam. Glam took forever this month. It has been interesting doing these. I do kind of have to get ready,
Sure.
which I think in the long run will be nice, but it is kind of annoying. I'm like, ugh, like I could be just like not having to do anything, but
yeah.
I'll keep the vibes sad.
Okay.
Which is kind of my thing anyway. This song, you know, it's sort of, I put it out late last year, and I've done my own, you know, writing about my up and down kind of life, existential, what does it all mean, why, going through those and trying to put them into music. And this song is, you know, one that kind of came out of that time for me, and it's called Somebody Else. Don't know what I wanna do tonight. Sick of feeling like I'm picking fights. I get mad at almost everything. No, I'm not the way I used to be. I just want someone to tell me that I'm okay. Yeah, I want someone to tell me that I'm okay. Some peace of mind is all I'm trying to find. Tell friends I'm fine, but I feel broken inside. I wanna be somebody else, somebody not scared as hell, somebody don't second guess themselves. Yeah, wanna be like that. Never used to think about it much. I just took it all for what it was. Now all I do is think about how it's never really working out. I just want someone to tell me that I'm okay. Yeah, I want someone to tell me that I'm okay. Some peace of mind is all I'm trying to find. Sometimes I'm fine, but I feel broken inside. I wanna be somebody else, somebody not scared as hell, somebody don't second guess themselves. Yeah, wanna be like that. Yeah, I wanna be somebody else, somebody not scared as hell, somebody don't second guess themselves. Yeah, wanna be, feel the wind start to change, take me through the night. No, I'm not far away from the brighter side. I wanna be somebody else, somebody who's not scared as hell, somebody who don't second guess themselves. Yeah, wanna be like that. I wanna be somebody else, somebody not scared as hell, somebody who second guess themselves. Yeah, wanna be, feel the wind start to change, take me through the night. No, I'm
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you. Isn't it kind of funny to just have to sit and watch someone?
I've been watching some of those Colbert episodes where he's doing them at home, and I was just thinking, like, it's so weird to probably deliver a monologue and then not hear people laugh. It's like
I cannot imagine. It's like weird enough to have to just be normal and not tell jokes. It's like
absolutely.
Oh, well, thanks for letting me play. And thanks for playing yourself. Okay, we have some time left, so I know people are dying to ask some questions and, get some answers. Okay, I'm going to try my best to pick. I have all the power here, John, so I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, no. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
You're like, any questions? Oh, well, this is good. We haven't talked about this. You have a solo project.
Oh, yeah.
You just put out a song, John the Ghost, and here's a question about that. Take it away.
Yeah, I was telling you before, the EP that I released in 2016 was all very emo. And the first song that I've released this year is not. So there are a lot of upbeat moods, but there's never a shortage of the sad stuff. So I'm taking it sort of, I'm writing for the main right now, so I put the John the Ghost stuff on pause, even though I just put out that song. So after this record is recorded, then I'll get back to working on the other stuff. But what's really neat for me is that people have been receptive to like the happier sound. So it's nice to know that I can still navigate that world and not be chastised for it. So
yeah, that's nice. Well, on that note, how's the album writing going from home going?
It's what's I think I should feel guilty for not feeling like too manic right now. Like where I'm at right now in the house that we bought, I have like a really nice view of the outdoors, and there's like a bunch of wildlife because it's spring and it's not like insanely hot right now. So I feel like I'm in a good headspace, and we've been really productive, which is rare for us at this point in the process. So it's all encouraging right now. So
yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it is interesting. Like the quarantine isn't like a huge difference, I feel like, for a lot of musicians who just work from home. And
yeah.
So it is kind of nice, but I also feel like it's hit or miss with like feeling inspired right now. So that's
I'm not gonna lie. Like yesterday, I hit a wall and was just like, I felt like I was just like staring at my computer, like trying to be productive, but nothing was coming. And it's like, for every good day, I have like a couple real stinkers. So I'm counting the good ones as like several. They're worth more at this point.
That's a good way to look at it. Okay, this might be tough. John, what are top 3 favorite The Main songs? Tough question.
I got to go with that one because that's my dad's favorite.
Yeah.
Maybe Another Night on Mars is the last song on American Candy. I really love that one. Because of its meaning. And maybe I don't know, let's go with Slip the Noose off the new record.
I know, I'm like, I think any of them will probably
yeah.
It's so hard to choose a favorite.
Yeah.
Or for me, it's always the most recent song I just wrote. That's
usually how it works for me too.
Yeah. Okay, what's the hardest song you wrote for The Main?
What comes, like, for you when you're writing a song? Do you come up with the concept lyrically and then you work that way, or?
I typically will sort of start with, whatever we're writing on guitar, piano with a few chords, and usually the melody comes first, and then that sort of informs the lyric. I mean, I'm trying to get better at coming in with more like concepts, because I feel like sometimes I can just get a melody I love and then just be like, I don't know what to write in this. Like, I don't know what words. And then it's annoying because I'm like, I like this. I just like can't fit the words in. But it's like arguably in pop, it's like, is it more important for the melody to be good?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know what you were saying. I just know that song by heart.
Yeah, see, that's where on not You Are Okay, but the album before is the time that I started to do melody first and no words.
Okay.
And I would say because of that, that was like the most difficult record to make, just because, like you said, like you get attached, you get that demoitis thing where you get attached to like the way that a melody sounds, even though it's not a real word. There's like something that lives there that you're like, I love that.
Right.
And then
I know.
You try to like cram in a word that doesn't work, and then you're like just banging your head against the wall. So
or then you like find yourself writing a song based around how a certain melody sounds. And it's like, would I even, which I guess could be good, but it also sometimes freaks me out because I'm like, am I just like writing words that sounds like a sound and it doesn't even have a meaning?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I think it can be challenging to like have melody.
Absolutely.
And have to like puzzle piece the lyrics in.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a song, or are you just kind of, are you not sure?
I'm gonna just go with the whole album of Lovely Little Lonely. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. Let me see if I can find one more. It's gotta be a good one. Oh no. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna end it with a light one. Hard hitting.
So I feel like, and my fiance Megan will say the same thing, like we have watched Sopranos, but never in order.
Okay.
So like we're vaguely familiar with obviously it's the mafia and whatever, but we just hit the reset. We just went back to one, and I think we're on season 1, like episode 8 right now.
How many episodes are in each season? Do you know?
I don't even know. I feel like it's a lot. And what's really interesting is I think it started in like 98 or 99, and just to watch like the way that it was filmed and the way that it was edited just feels like so old at this point. It's crazy.
It's crazy how different it feels. I maybe should be embarrassed to admit this, but I just watched The Godfather for the first time this past weekend. I don't know why, I just missed it. There's a lot of like classic movies that I just didn't see, and that was one of them. And that was filmed in like the 70s.
Totally.
And I was just like, this feels, I mean, it was really good, but I was like, this feels insane.
You know what? This is a tangent, but I had this thought the other day when we were looking through what to watch, and there was like, remember in the 90s it was like Can't Hardly Wait, Clueless, like all these movies about just being, I guess Superbad kind of did it, but there needs to be a renaissance of like teenage like something. And I feel like that the lane's wide open right now for people to revisit that.
Did you see Booksmart?
No.
It was like this movie that came out with Beanie Feldstein, which is Jonah Hill's little sister.
Oh, wow.
And Katelyn Dever. Anyway, it was sort of in that same world. It was pretty good.
So worth a watch.
Yeah. Olivia Wilde, it's her directorial debut. I don't know why.
There we go.
I know all about this. But it sort of, I think, was trying to fill that lane, but there
Maybe
needs to be lanes.
maybe it's already been filled, so
No,
maybe I
there's
just need to
not
watch.
enough, but Booksmart was good. You should check it out.
Okay, I gotta check it out.
All right, John. Well, thanks so much for coming on
Yeah, thank you.
Just world famous.
Thank
We
you
titled
for
it
having me.
Katelyn at Noon. I'm sticking with that for now.
There you go.
But it was so nice to get to talk to you. And
Nice talking to you.
I know you're very beloved by all of your fans and everybody here. And I am a big fan of you guys and am excited to see what comes next for y'all. And
Likewise.
yeah, it was just so fun to talk to you. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. All right. Well,
have a good weekend.
Day. Yeah, you too. We're clear close to the weekend.
Yes.
If you make it.
Those still mean something, right?
Yeah, I think it does. If you make it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, have a good one.
Take care.
Right. You too. All right. That was great. Big thanks to John O'Callaghan. Woo! I need to get one of those applause tracks, I feel like, to help me out. That was great. So fun. Such a good conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go check out the Maine. They have so much music out. They're just classic. So good, so talented. And John's solo project, John the Ghost. Go check it all out. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that combo. And I will not be back tomorrow with the show. Tomorrow is off. I know, I'm really sorry. But I will be back next week with more guests to be announced soon. It's going to be another good week, y'all. I mean, I'm just saying. Season 5 of Katelyn at Noon is lining up to be a good one. So, yeah, come back next week. And once again, thank you to John for joining me today and just sharing all that he shared. It's really nice. All right, I'm so bad at signing off. But I hope you guys have a good weekend, good Thursday. Join me back here on Monday, and I'll see you then. All right.